Hi friends, let's do a step sheet breakdown. So I'm going to go through basically how I prep either if I'm competing in a competition where a step sheet is going to be judged on certain walls, or if I'm teaching at a venue or judging. And I need to know the step sheet forwards and backwards because this is what you go off of and not just a video that you saw or how you and your best friend dance it on the weekends, which is fun. That is the social aspect. That's the styling variety. But let's just talk about how we can break this down and how you can do it too. I'm going to do it with a beginner dance. So this is for a novice beginner competition coming up, Denim and Diamond Showdown. And the dance is called Georgia Ways by Rick Dominguez. If you haven't seen a step sheet before, this is what they look like. You can find them on Copper Knob. They're also on Boot Steppers, some other websites, ELD, I believe. But whatever the choreographer writes out and describes is what you should go off of. And this is the common way that we see it, but there are other ways out there that it's written and then published for other teachers to use or dancers to use. So there's a QR code at the top of Copper Knob step sheets, and that's what you can scan and go to the steps. So this is a 16 count 4-wall dance. What I like to do right off the bat is if the choreographer already has a video that's published with the step sheet, I like to print it or look at it online while the choreographer is dancing. That way I can kind of see, okay, we're all human. Did they make an error writing it? Because nobody is checking these to see if there's an error. And if I'm watching this and I'm watching the choreographer and I see, oh, something doesn't look right, I really don't think they meant that. A lot of times at the bottom, and just like with this, they'll put their email on there. So you can send questions or reach out directly if you know them. If not, email with questions. Hey, did you mean a coaster? Did you mean a sailor? I'm kind of confused at this part. Can you help me? So that's the very first thing I do before I commit to learning something like a 3-part advanced dance or I go to teach it. I try to clarify. So that's step one, right off the bat. Watch how the choreographer dances, check and see. Now, if you're like, hey, I don't have a dance background, I don't know a coaster step from a sailor step, if that's not your strong suit, then go past the step descriptions, which are in bold, or the terminology that might be dance terms, and look just to see in the non-bold portion next to the counts, does that part line up? If it says turn a quarter and step out to the side, did they do that? Did they turn a quarter with their body and step out to the side, or was it something else? And so that's going to help you in many different ways. First and foremost, it helps you if you're an instructor on how to explain it to somebody else. Because if you already kind of look at these nuances and see parts that may or not be clear in the step sheet, that's where you come in as an instructor and you help clarify. Some step sheets really describe what the moves and steps are down to a T, especially the more advanced it is, and some don't. And that's kind of up to you to fill in the gap with either your own dance background knowledge or by studying the choreographer or reaching out, what have you. All right, so that's kind of the process of going through. Once I've done that and I see, okay, the way the choreographer dances it, how the step sheets is written, it matches, then I go in and I try to learn it. So I first will go 8 count by 8 count usually, or once I've played it all the way through, I kind of know, all right, were there tags, restarts? Do I need to note anything special to listen out for or pay attention to? Is there weird timing on certain parts? And I'll kind of make sure I really deep dive into those. But I'll take it in 8 count at a time and break it down for what those steps are. And sometimes the step sheets will have out to the side, like where you see where my finger is now, I wrote a time. Sometimes they'll have that already written for you so that you know what wall you're facing after a turn or two or complicated turns. If they don't, that's another part where I go in and I add those notes for clarity. It helps me to refer back to quickly when I'm teaching, judging, or dancing, and you go to change walls and you get wall amnesia. You can kind of quickly look back to, okay, that was supposed to be a half turn, I'm supposed to be facing back. Or at that point, I would be facing 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock. So I'd go in and make those notes. So for this dance in particular, like the first 8 count, I'm going to notice here that I've got a half turn somewhere in there. So I'm going to have some sort of wall change. And then I have syncopation in the counts. It's not just on the solid beat, but those and counts, they don't continue the same all the way through. Like if you look in the second 8 count, we have full syncopation, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This one we don't. We have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So that means there's an and missing. There should be a timing difference. And that is now where I'm going to learn that as a dancer. I'm going to teach that to my dancers. But now as a judge, this becomes a critical part for me in then judging someone else in a competition. Did they learn that? Did they pay attention to it? Are they just kind of smooth dancing all the way through? Or are they very staccato and they're missing the flow? That becomes a big deal, even in a beginner dance, for matching your footwork to the actual rhythm that was intended with the music. So that's what I dive into as I go to learn each section. So like for this, if I turn around, if the doors are my 12 o'clock, it says step, twist, hitch. If I just go off of that step, I could twist either way. I could just twist one foot. I could hitch up in place. So without all these other descriptions down here, that doesn't paint a clear enough picture for me to know what to do. So I've already watched the choreographer. I look down at these steps here and I try to match it. So we've got a step, twist, twist, left hitch, a 1 and 2 and, into a left coaster, 3 and 4. We're going to go forward with the right and tap with the left on the and, recover back. So that was 5 and 6. Then we're finishing it out with a triple half turn over the right shoulder. So my weight's on the left, step sheet says to recover on the left, and making my triple half turn, I turn over my right and go right, left, right. I'm now facing 6 o'clock. That was my half turn. All these things, I now make sure it matches as I learn it, make notes for what I'm looking for or how I'm teaching. In this dance in particular, there's no indication here in the main bold line of that you're going to make a turn of some sort. But when you watch the video, you know this is a 4-wall dance. You know that's going to happen. Now, it comes in the step descriptions. So it talks about making a press forward with the left. So pressing forward, recover, paddle back a quarter turn. That's where it says to make your quarter. So if we were being super particular on when to turn, this would be a press, recover, quarter paddle, recover before doing a sailor step. Sailor step, collect. Now if you weren't looking at that description in general and you just knew he turned, you also could smooth it out for a press, press, or you could hold on to this wall, press, press, and stay facing that wall without having made a quarter turn and make your sailor a quarter turn. Quarter turn. So that's where the nuances of how it's written, how it's danced, you start to look for those things. Now, when it just comes down to dancing out with your friends or in a bar, does that matter? Not at all. Matter of fact, you're going to make it smooth to flow with the music and not look like a robot. But there is a difference in how it looks. So a forward and turn and sailor step looks different than forward, side, turn, sailor step. I've held on to a wall longer, given it more upper body turn, so that changes the shape of my body and how it looks to dance it. So those are things that you're going to look for when learning how to teach it, learning how to describe it, and teach a new dancer, especially something that is beginner level. But that's also ways that you can spice it up if you want to make this look more stylish as you're dancing it in a competition or out for fun. So that's just the basics of how I would go over the dance and how I would learn it. And then I make my own personal notes towards the bottom, then on lyrics. So that's kind of the final and last thing I do. Once I learn the dance all the way through, all the 8 counts, if there's any tags, any restarts, I practice that on each of the walls. The last thing I do is, once I have that down, muscle memory, no question what the steps are, then I go and change for variation or adding in style so that I'm so comfortable with the dance, I'm not going to forget how it is. And if I space out and I do forget, I can come back easily because I've built in that muscle memory. But I then look for the lyrics. And so this is also what I'm looking for as a judge, for styling and showmanship and points of connection. I already kind of know and have that in mind so that when I'm judging, I'm not surprised by it. I know this dance, I know the song, I know where moments are that they're probably going to show off or they're probably going to add in something that's super unique or stands out to the lyric or sounds. Like if there's a pause, a dramatic stop. So if it talks about getting down, are they getting down with their steps? Are they getting down low with their body? What are they doing to emphasize that lyrical moment and show musicality? I make notes already so that this is just my interpretation, but I'm ahead of the curve on what to expect. So a dancer may interpret it completely different, and that's the surprise, and that's awesome if they do. But I already have myself prepared looking for certain moments like, okay, this is coming in the song. What's going to set apart the dancers that did everything to the step sheet? What's going to set those 2 dancers apart? And I'm able to pay full attention. And if it's the second, third time through, I'm able to focus on what I'm looking for in their bodies, their turns, the music, all those things, so that I'm not missing it as a judge. I'm not lost in the moment or swept by the crowd. I've already done my homework as a judge, since we're talking about this in particular. I've already done my homework so that I'm able to give the best that I can back towards the dancers. Because judges are supposed to be a cut above just the audience. They're not just watching. They're watching through a different lens, through different eyes. And there's all sorts of factors that go into judging, but I wanted to share in connection what that's like for line dance with step sheets and preparation for a competition coming up. So there you have it. That was your step sheet breakdown. Whether you're a dancer, instructor, or judge, this is how you can use the step sheet to prepare for what you have coming up. So hope that was helpful. If you have questions, comments, drop them in the comment section below, and hope to see you at Denim and Diamonds in Knoxville, Tennessee at the Cotton Eye Joe.